Okay, people, so now we have got dead mail. Okay, so this is the new film from Joe DeBoer and Kyle McConaghy. Joe and Kyle also wrote the film. It is produced by Brett Arndt and Zachary Wee. It's executive produced by Stephen Schneider, Susan Priver, Roy Lee, Adam Goldworm. Joe and Kyle, as well as directing and writing, also took care of the music. Peyton Jane is production design. Kerry Ann Savastano is costume design. Hair and makeup, we've got Rafi Haj Ahmed. And stunt coordinator is Jordan Matlock. Right, our cast. We have got Josh, played by Sterling Mesa Jr. Trent is played by John Fleck. Jasper is played by Tomas Boykin. Anne is played by Mickey Jackson. Her friend Bess and colleague is played by Susan Priver. Renee is played by Nick Heyman. Brooks is played by Sean Heyman. We've got Vincent, played by Aaron Pfeiffer. Backer, played by Michael Cambridge. Newt, played by Micah Fitzgerald. Kirby, played by Sharif Walters. Shem, played by David Willis. We got Splinterman, played by Joseph Lopez. Blake, played by Josh Harp. Allison, played by Shelby Sulak. Mayumi, played by Alessia Braby. Then there's the Shelby Shea, Jackie Green, Robin D. Stanton also have supporting roles in the film. Okay, so the gist is this, right? An anonymous help note finds its way to a 1980s post office, connecting a dead letter investigator to a kidnapped keyboard technician. So, I mean, you get a warning at the beginning of the film that there are going to be images of torture, kidnapping, just some unsettling things, right? And all you've kind of seen of the film is just an image of a guy with his like hands taped, like chained together. I think there's a gag in his mouth, a little bit bloody. So, this isn't going to be, rainbows and stars, right? So, but it's like, how do we get to this point? What is this? And we literally start off with a guy crawling, the guy we've seen on the poster and everything, crawling along the ground, with a piece of paper in his hands, getting to a letterbox and then dropping this note in the letterbox, and a guy comes up behind him to stop him, and you're like, what's going on, right? So we have this, but then, right, we move from that, and we're with another guy in a building. Right, in a building, looking at post. We got these two women going through post, going, oh, I wonder if Jasper is going to be happy with this. And you're like, wait, what is going on? Right? And so it turns out that Jasper, is a dead letter finder, investigator. Didn't know that was a thing. I don't know if that's made up just for this or if it is. Because the conditions in which they work in, it does all seem very bizarre. And you're just like, surely this isn't like, is this real? I don't even know. But yeah, we're with these people, and we see him trying to track down, right, post and things, and people's missing necklaces and all of this kind of palaver. And then they come across this note. So you're like, okay, so it did get posted. Right, okay. And so we have them kind of looking into this. And he uses these other shady looking people in this other dark kind of room. Right? He rings them up. They're speaking in a foreign language. It's subtitled. The subtitles are yellow with no solid background. Very difficult to see because they're tiny as well. So I have no clue what was being said, but they work with Jasper in providing him addresses and other info. But I don't know what they are, right? How legit this is. So it's all kind of cloak and daggery. But obviously, looking into this whole thing, it's going to lead to stuff, right? Now, we oftentimes, then we go back to the kind of beginning. Because we do cut back to Josh in his chains, but then we cut back to how that all happened. Right? And he's a keyboard, as I said, a keyboard technician. He's kind of trying to synthesize the sound of a musical instrument. Right? And, we go through the trials and tribulations of this. Right? The fact that big companies have more resources, they can create more sounds more quickly, and, what he's trying to do to navigate all of that. So we have all of this, and it's interesting to a point, but also not, right? Listen, the cast are very good. The cast really do play their roles well. And the film has a vibe, because I don't think there's anything in the film that kind of says the year it is in, but you're just kind of going by the clothes and everything like that, okay, so this isn't now, this must be in the past. But the way it's filmed, the grain and everything like that, you do get that vibe that it is an 80s film, right? So all of that was done very well, just looking at the keyboards and everything like that does tell you that this kind of is probably around the 80s, but yeah, I don't think there's anything that actually says this is when it is, right? But so we're getting all of this, but as I said, there's not, I don't know, we're not getting a whole heap of background on our protagonists, right? So we know a little bit about Jasper, like he keeps to himself. That's kind of it. There's not a whole lot else. And we don't really get a lot on Josh. Don't really get a lot on, Anne or Bess, right? Or Trent. So we're just watching it for what it is, which is all fine, but it's a slow, methodical film, which there's no issues with that, but it needs something to really anchor you to it, right? To make you really want to care about these people, because there is a little bit in this where you do think, I mean, Josh did a shitty thing, kind of a shitty thing, but you know, it still doesn't necessarily warrant, right, what happens to him. But yeah, you're not like, oh, Josh is a completely stand-up guy, you know. But yeah, I feel we need something more to hold you to this, right? For you to root for someone, right? For you to really care. You know, there's a bit, and I think it's Blake. Like the way he shouts at Ann and Bess, you're like, yo, what the fuck is going on here? You know, it's all a little weird. And we don't know how good of friends are Bess and Ann, right? Like, what is all of these relationships, the friendships, all of this? We don't really know. And the film goes on, and you question why certain people would do certain things, right? That's a little bit like, okay, but why would you do this, right? Why would you go into a house? You know, there's so many things here that have you scratching your head a little bit, right? A little bit. You're just like, I'm not sure. As well as there's a couple acts that get done that you're just like, okay, but I don't know if everyone would know how to do that. So is there more we need to know about this other character, or, you know what I mean? So that is the thing with Dead Male. It is a well put together, well acted piece, but the story feels like it's a little flimsy. There's some holes in it, right? There's some holes in it. It doesn't completely hold you. It does remind me a little bit of The Mill, right? That was the film with Lil Ray Howery in it. And I think... I was going to say, I think it came out last year, but actually, I think it might have been 2023, right? But this Dead Male does kind of remind me of The Mill, because, you know, there's all a little bit of torture and people finding themselves locked up somewhere and kidnapping and all of this kind of stuff. So, and The Mill, again, a bit like interesting kind of concept, but kind of some holes in the story, and you're not fully attached to it. So, you know, if you really like The Mill, then I think you will dig Dead Male. Okay, so Dead Male drops this Friday on Shudder, right? Home of horror. And I imagine if you love horror, you've got Shudder. So, yeah, if, you know, this kind of story, it sounds like it could be for you, then, yeah, go check out Dead Male. Okay? Yes, Dead Male. It's, you know, it's a slower film, a bit like The Rule of Jenny Penn, right? But I think The Rule of Jenny Penn was a tighter film, you know? But yeah, Dead Mail, it is available on Shudder from 18th of April. Okie dokie. Yeah, I think that's it. You know what I mean? I think that's it, people. You can make your choice. The acting is very good. I will, yeah.